Our next speaker is Nicklin, and she's going to be talking about empathy.
Good morning. I think we did a little bit better. Good morning!
Morning.
Oh, Mumbai, I love you. I couldn't be more proud to follow that. Actually, it makes me want to cry. I don't know why it makes me cry. But that was really a phenomenal moment for me to hear. But I also understand exactly why this team asked me to come and present after what you just heard. Because the reality out there in our world is that we have a really big problem. And it's worth this much money. $8.8 trillion. That is the estimated loss in our business world every year. Disengagement, disconnection, and presenteeism. They are disintegrating our business success. They are pulling apart our workplaces, and they're leading to nearly 80% of people worldwide saying that they experience disengagement in the workplace. 80% of people are disengaged. What we know out there is that we're suffering with something called an empathy deficit. Now, what is an empathy deficit? The empathy deficit represents the disconnection that we're suffering with in our world. Now, when you understand that empathy is not about being nice, it's not about being kind. Empathy is about understanding each other, about understanding the person you are sitting next to, the person you are leading, the person in your business. And empathy is a pro-social skill set. We need empathy to survive, not to thrive. We see higher levels of empathy in our organizations. Every business indicator goes up. You will see, and I know you're going to love this, 23% higher profit in an empathetically led organization. You will see 68% higher levels of engagement, 48% higher levels of innovation, and 34% higher levels of output per capita. Fundamentally, what I'm talking about here is not about being soft. What I'm talking about is organizational science. To belong is core to all of us as human beings. And empathy is something you are born with. It is built into your prefrontal cortex. Every baby is born with empathy. Probably the question I get asked most is, but maybe you just have more empathy than everybody else. But I don't. Because you and your husband and your wife, and yes, your leader, has exactly the same amount. It's a pro-social skill set. We need it to survive. So why don't we have it? Let me tell you a little bit about where it's going and why it's gone. In the last 30 years, we have lost 48% of a skill set that I just told you helps the human race survive. 50% of a skill set that we need to survive. And yet somehow we've let it pass. So in 2006, President Obama, before he was president, he stood up and he addressed his audience and he said, I know today I should be speaking about my federal deficit, but I think we should talk about our empathy deficit. He was predicting nearly 20 years ago that if we do not reconnect our workplaces and our people, this would not just be a social issue, but a fiscal issue. Now, I'm not going to comment on politics, certainly not on stage, but if you turn on the news, I recommend you don't. It's not a great picture. But if you turn on the news and look at the state of America and indeed our world, he wasn't wrong. We are today more disconnected than at any other time in history. Today, 52% of us, half of this room, it's a lot of people, are lonely. Now, when you understand that loneliness, it's not about being alone. We're in Mumbai. We are never alone, right? There's people everywhere. Loneliness is a lack of connection. And to be chronically lonely, is as dangerous to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Our loneliness, and not just our cancer, is killing us. And in fact, the highest burden to our healthcare system worldwide is not cancer. It's not diabetes and it's not heart disease. It is loneliness. We have lost each other. But the good news is that all of you spend 90,000 hours at work leading people, and you can be part of fixing it. People spend 5/7 of their week at work. If we're going to reconnect the world, it starts with you. The stories you've already heard on the stage today talk to that. Talk to the importance of being seen and heard. When people feel seen, they rise. And that is due to neuroscience. When our brains are under constant stress or anxiety, you cannot actually physiologically, neurologically access the full potential of your brain. So if your team does not feel psychologically safe, if they don't feel that you're interested, that you value their opinion, they will never reach their full potential because their brain literally cannot do so. You may have heard of something called the fight or flight response. The fight or flight response comes from our evolutionary makeup. When we were cave men and women, and something came to attack us, let's say it's a tiger, and a tiger comes out of the woods, and we're alone, and I'm a cave woman, I have two choices. I can fight it, or I can flight it. But either way, I don't need to be doing strategic thinking at that time, right? I need my arms, my legs, my lungs to prepare me to fight off something that can kill me. And so what the brain does is it takes the blood, the energy, away from the prefrontal cortex, away from the part of your brain that is thinking, and sends all that energy to the parts of your body you need to fight. Now, as humans, we have evolved phenomenally. Our emotional intelligence improves by 0.02% every year as a human race. We are getting more emotionally intelligent. But however our brains evolve, that fight or flight response hasn't changed. Your brain doesn't know the difference between the tiger and a toxic boss. That fear that you feel opening the closed to open door, right? That fear, your brain doesn't know that that's not a tiger. So what it does is the same thing. It sends that blood and that energy to the parts of your body that you need to run away from the tiger. When that happens, we put cortisol and adrenaline through our body. It is what many people say causes some of these diseases, that running, that racing, that constant stress. It's not good for our bodies. Because adrenaline and cortisol are hormones that are supposed to come in, help us fight, and then they leave the bloodstream. Except today, nearly 60% of the global population say they are already suffering with burnout. They are living with these hormones in their bloodstreams. It is not good for their health, and it's definitely not good for their work. When we turn that around, I touched earlier on some of those stats, we see all kinds of business indicators improve. Because when people feel that they're valued in their team, and you heard this from Prasenjit's story this morning, they want to do more. They want to be with you. They want to bring their full effort to work. Today, the World Health Organization has come out and said to the world that loneliness is a global epidemic. We spend so long talking about the pandemic, but we have been ignoring this silent reality that is disconnecting your workplaces. Many of you will remember a story right from India, unfortunately, in October last year, when a young woman, her name was Anna, and she died at work. And she died of overwork at work. And after she died, not one manager, not one leader, not one friend went to her funeral. But she died in the workplace. Her mother wrote a letter to the CEO. It went very viral all around the world. And she says in that letter, I remember because I presented a lot, she says to the CEO, "My heart breaks, not only for the loss of my child, but for the lack of empathy by those who were supposed to be in her care." This empathy deficit is impacting all areas of our life. So how do we turn it around? Can we turn it around? The answer is yes. Organizational empathy is your ability to understand each other. This is not about being nice. Please be nice. Okay? But that's not about this. I'm not teaching people to be nice, right? To be empathetic in the workplace is to take the perspective of others. Why is that person who you promoted doing less well after the promotion? Why is your biggest client suddenly debating a clause in the contract that has been there for 10 years? What is really going on? If the key to growth as teams and as a nation is to understand each other, we have to start asking questions, and critically, you have to listen to the answers. There is a big difference between hearing and listening. To hear, if I drop this on the floor, you'll hear it, right? It'll make a big noise. It's a passive reality. To listen is to decode. To listen is an active skill set. And quite frankly, it can change the world. We need to be heard. If you leave this room and nobody looks at you, nobody talks to you, nobody acknowledges you when you go to get your tea, according to science, within 3 minutes, your physiological system will change. Why are they not looking at me? Did I do something wrong? Am I sorry? Maybe they don't like me. Right? Your palms might start to sweat. You might get butterflies. You might feel nauseous. Your body, within 3 minutes, is responding to a lack of belonging. And now imagine what's happening in the workplace when people have this systemically for years on end. To listen is to decode information. It's to ask yourself, am I listening to reply? Or am I listening to understand? Ask yourself that often. Ask yourself that at work, and ask yourself that in your family lives, as parents. We tell each other to listen. If you have small children in your life, how often you say, listen to mummy, listen to daddy, listen to auntie. But how often do we teach each other to listen? Quite frankly, never. If you have a small child in your life, and you ever pick them up from school, perhaps you'll resonate with this. Sometimes when I'm picking my daughter up, she's 7. She's in the back of the car and she's saying, "Mummy," and I was in the playground and I dropped my cookie and then my friend came and my teacher did this, and all of this stuff, right? I mean, to her this is, life-changing playground information. In my head, the temptation is to go, but actually what I'm thinking, did I send that email? Have I told the CEO I'm going to be late? I'm not sure I'm going to get to that Teams call on time. Okay? You are hearing her, but you are not listening to her. And she knows. So when our children turn 12 or 13, people always say to me, "Oh, maybe teenagers, why don't they listen?" And then I say to them, well, did you listen to them for the first 12 years of their life? Who did they learn not to listen from? Children and teammates will role model. If you listen, they will respond. And the great thing about listening, active listening, is the more you listen, the more people tell you. This is your insight. How can you ever drive performance if you don't understand what drives the person who you want to perform? How can you ever drive inclusion if you don't know how people want to be included? As a female leader, for all of the women here today, we are told, and have been told for like 20 years, that we should want a seat at the table. Number one, where's the table? is that, right? So number one, nobody knows. But number two, in my experience, and I get to do this every week, I travel the world and I meet phenomenal women everywhere. And very few of them want to sit at that imaginary table. They want to be the CEO or the vice president of healthcare. They want to make money and show that they can do it and achieve and grow and change the world. But when they're finished, they want to go home to their kids. They don't want to sit around a boardroom table and talk about next year's profit. I'm worried enough about this year's profit, right? To include people, you need to understand them. Today I came with the title of multi-generational leadership. It feels really heavy to consider that we have 4 generations of team members in our workplace. In some of our more traditional family businesses, and I've worked in India for over 10 years, you might have the chairman at the top in his 70s, his 80s, or in a tea company I work with, his 90s. He's 90, he's a legend, right? He's in the office, to be fair, he's reading the paper, but he's in the office. He's impacting culture, because while he's there, the business won't change the entire way that perhaps the modern world would like it to. So you have your 80 and your 90-year-olds at the top, and then at the bottom, the ones coming in are 17, maybe younger, depending on what the work is, internships, that type of thing. The guys at the top and the people at the bottom, they don't speak the same language, let alone tweet the same language, right? These multi-generational gaps keep us up at night. If I hear one more senior leader tell me that Gen Z are lazy, you know, right? Laziness or any of these labels are self-fulfilling prophecies. If you tell them they are lazy, what will they become? Lazy, right? They're not lazy, they're different. And the reality is the psychology is exactly the same. So a CEO said to me recently here, Mimi, I just don't understand. Every time they have a break, they're on their phone. Don't they want to connect with the real world? You might want to check, Uncle, but the real world is on their phone. They are in their phone, right? You maybe, perhaps, in your generation, maybe you took a break and maybe you smoked a cigarette, right, in the 80s? People smoked to connect. We had smoke breaks. Even when I started, there were smoke breaks, right? Back in those days. Today, the psychology is the same. They might be doing it on Snapchat or Instagram or Facebook, but they're finding their tribe. How they communicate doesn't matter. Don't worry if it's a WhatsApp call. If the client says yes, the client says yes. The methods will change. The psychology remains. Because all of us were born needing to belong. I have a video in my presentation that I can't play of my little girl. So I'm going to ask you to use your imagination. She's like this big. She's very cute. She comes into my shoot and she says to me, Mummy, why do you get to be on camera? I said, no problem. Come in, what are we going to talk about? Camera's rolling. And I say to her, I think I said she's 7. I say, Umi, that's her name, why do we need to listen to people? She thinks, and she says to me, Mummy, if you don't listen to me, I don't think you like me, and I think you don't want to be my friend. She knows and she's 7. Our children know this, you know this. When we feel heard, we know we matter. All we need is a great manager. But to be a great manager, to take on that responsibility of other people's lives, you have to listen first. Because I believe that to lead, you need to first listen. I call that listening-led leadership. And I truly believe, Prasenjit asked me yesterday, what do you think the one skill set might be to change our times? And I think it's that. 334 million people don't have a single friend. Guys, 300 million people. How did we get here? When you ask people on their deathbed what their greatest fear is, over 90% say to be alone. And yet, we seem hooked on living alone. So today, if I can leave you with one message for all of the phenomenal content that you're going to absorb, is to start, actually where Prasenjit started, with the word connect. Guys, we're human. You are not your title and they are not theirs. We are humans and we are sharing a space for the betterment of the businesses we are in. To lead them, you have to listen to them. Because in the end, all human beings take away our religious beliefs, our backgrounds, our culture, our colour, our choices. We are all more alike than we are different. The media wants you to believe different because pulling us apart sells. But you know what builds businesses and 23% more profit? Is coming back together. My last thing I want to say to you today is this. It's a question, actually. Will you listen to each other, to the world? Will you? Thank you. You can listen. Thank you for listening to me. My name is Nicklin.